In today's video, I will be sharing my experience using Starlink internet at my cabin in the woods here in the Pacific Northwest. For the past 2.5 years, I have been using my Starlink to upload the videos that I film and edit to my YouTube channel. I'll show you how I installed it, how it has performed, most of the time meeting my needs, while at other times falling short. And I'll also be helping my neighbor install a brand new Starlink at his cabin. Through that process, we'll see different installation methods that can be used, and we'll be able to compare the performance of the Starlink after using each method. There is going to be a lot of information covered in this video, so the best way that I can think to tackle this beast of a project is to work in chronological order, beginning 2.5 years ago when I first received my Starlink equipment, which also happened to be the same time I received my battery bank and solar panels. Regular viewers of the channel have probably already seen this footage of my install, but it was 2.5 years ago, so might as well do a little refresher, and we're only going to cover the most important parts. It's going to move pretty quickly. So here we go with my original install. So not only do these big tall trees around the cabin block the sun from hitting the solar panels, they also cause obstruction for the Starlink satellite to get a clear view of the sky and get a good signal. I moved it to that part of the roof over there, a couple spots on that roof, and it just is what it is. There's trees in the way no matter where I put it around here. There's a clear view of the sky down here by the lake, so I'm gonna take my Starlink equipment down to the docks, power it up, and see if it will work down here with a clear view of the sky. There we go. Check for obstructions. This is a great place for your Starlink. Online. Speed. Oh, look at that. So the good news is all this works. The bad news is I'm all the way down here and it's not where my cabin is. Cabin's up there in the woods with lots of trees surrounding it. I do know somebody that climbs trees. There is an obvious candidate here. It's that tree right there. I think it's doable. Clear view of the sky from the top of that tree right there. This is a Starlink antenna, and then I bought this from Starlink, which allows you to fasten it to a pole of various diameter. I zip tied the wire here and then here, and here. So once this cable is run down the pole, it can't pull all the weight and create a lot of tension right here where the wire goes in. So I got everything he's gonna need here. Now I'm just waiting for him to arrive.
I can pull this.
You're just gonna pull it up, like climb to the top and then pull it up?
I take this roll with me and throw it right here. That's all.
Okay.
And all the rest I can do that this from the top.
All right, here comes the rope. He's lowering the rope down to me. All right, getting to the end of the rope here.
Pero bonito.
Online. Okay, it's good. It's good.
Right there.
Perfect. Here comes the chainsaw, lowering it down. Got it.
Yeah.
Man.
You had it. You had a new sky.
You are amazing, man. So that was the Starlink install from 2.5 years ago. This is some drone footage of what it looked like up there at the time. Now, unfortunately, that is the extent of the drone footage that I will have in this video, because here is the drone that I used to capture that footage. And since then, I have ran it into a tree. So everything else is recorded from the ground. But that's what it looked like at the time of the install. And I didn't do the best job of describing the pole and mount that I use, so I want to do that right now real quick. I did get some footage of me at Home Depot putting that Starlink mount on the pole, and here is the dimensions of that pole. And then the other pieces that I used are this right here. I don't know what that's called, but it squeezes on the pole using that threaded bolt that you see there. It's got a Phillips head. And then you can see these holes on the two sides. Through those holes, I put these screws. These are like decking screws. So 2 on one side, 2 on the other side. And I believe I had 2 of those bracket things, one towards the top, one towards the bottom. Geronimo installed those. So it was a total of 8 of these fasteners that hold the whole thing up there on the tree. So let's pick right back up where I left off. So now I'm just gonna add some nails, and then somehow I think I'm gonna run it underneath and then pop it up through the floor. And there's an outlet in that corner I can plug the modem into, so I'll do that. All right, there we go. And now I'm here 2 years into the future, and this is that same wire that I poked through the wall. And the tree that the Starlink is mounted in is right there. So the cable comes down the tree, as you saw, goes underneath the cabin, pokes through the wall, and then plugs into the router right here. And then the other end of this plugs into the bottom of this right here. I think throughout this video I referred to this as a router and a modem. I'm not sure which one is correct, but I think router is actually the correct term. So now there is a direct connection from here all the way up the tree, and then the other wire hanging out of the router is the power cord. Now, regular viewers of the channel will know that under normal circumstances, I have outlets and wires and everything in my cabin routed to the garage where my power source is. Typically, I have this battery bank here and my generator. Most of the time, I keep all that stuff in the garage. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to plug directly into this battery bank so we can see just how much juice the Starlink satellite and the router use isolated from everything else. So it's just this. This is the only thing that is going to be powered by this battery bank here. So as it starts up, it's saying it's discharging 22 watts, but that should raise here in a little bit. Okay, it's gonna go through its whole process, and now that's typical right there, 95 watts. So it's starting up and it's really cold outside, so it has a built-in heater, which I'll talk about here in a moment. So I'm gonna leave all this sitting here, let it run through its initial startup. Right now, I'll show you what things look like out here. In that old footage, you saw me putting staples or nails on this cable going up the tree. I put 3 total, and this one right here, I ended up just a few weeks ago taking off because it was starting to pinch the cable. See that right there? This tree is still growing, and if I left that nail in there, as the tree continued to grow, I was afraid that it was gonna ruin the cable and like eventually cut it off. So I removed that. And these other ones look okay for now, but I might have to do something different in the future. And that may mean running a little bit of conduit going up the tree, but we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. But right now it still just goes right underneath the cabin and goes right up the tree, just like it was when Geronimo was here. Still looks exactly the same. It's still doing its thing, calculating orientation, and now it's drawing 63, 64. That's what it's using. 64 watts, 67 watts. And under normal circumstances, I have the router sitting right here, right in the corner of the room, and I have it plugged into that outlet pretty much at all times. And so this is where it sits. Now the question is, how does the Starlink perform? And one of the ways to answer that is to do a simple internet speed test. So if you don't know, you can Google the words internet speed test and run a test, and the results of that test say 121 megabits per second download and 13 megabits per second upload. So for you tech nerds and data people who want to know numbers, that's the answer for you. But to people like me, answering that question of how does it work is better understood by just saying it works. Meaning that while I'm here at the cabin, I can send and receive emails with PDF attachments, multiple photos, sometimes videos. I can download photos and videos from the internet. I can be upstairs with the lovely Julia streaming Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube videos without buffering or a decrease in video quality. I can do all of those things comfortably without being like, oh my gosh, this is so slow, I can't even handle it. So that's the simple answer to that question. How does the Starlink perform? I can do all of those things. Now, as a full-time YouTuber, that is a different story. For example, last week, my video was milling 2x4 lumber. That was a 33-minute video, all filmed in 4K quality. So it's a very big file. To upload that video to my YouTube channel took 12 hours. So to do that, I had to leave the Starlink plugged in overnight. So while I was sleeping, I just had my laptop plugged in, charging. The Starlink was on. And then by the time I woke up, cooked breakfast, did all that stuff, then the video was finally uploaded. So it can be done. And 12 hours is a ridiculously long time to wait for something, but that's the way that I do it. I will get more into the weeds on technical information. I do have that at my disposal and I'm going to share that, but let's wait until the end. For right now, I'm going to share footage of me helping my neighbor, John, install Starlink at his cabin. And this was a pretty fun day. So let's jump to that. All right, everybody, this is my neighbor, John, and we are at his cabin. This is the Who Gives a Hoot Saloon. He's got a really unique, cool cabin over here. He's gonna be installing Starlink at his cabin today.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great to have it up here.
John recruited the help of his longtime friend Tyler. They have known each other since Tyler was just a youngster. So he doesn't have the same exact equipment as my friend Geronimo, who more specializes in arborist like tree work. Tyler has a little bit different setup and he's used to working on more like telephone pole type of stuff. So Tyler and John ran through a mock install on the ground before he climbed the tree and did everything.
Okay.
All right.
So where are we at in our training
Once we
module?
got our a bracket mounted, I'm gonna feed the cable through the bottom, hook it to the satellite, put the post back in. Once I have everything tightened down, make sure it's in the right position, make sure it's working for you down below. I'm gonna start zip tying the cable right here, and then I'll keep going down, making sure I got enough room for growth. It shouldn't be difficult, a little bit of a process, but not difficult.
So there's the tree that John's Starlink is going to go in. Here's his cabin, and underneath the cabin, there's the conduit that goes inside, and he's currently got the wire running through that conduit. It's buried in the ground right here, and then it pops up over here, starts to go up the tree, and he and Tyler already got this cable run through that end going into the cabin and all of that. So he's gonna have about 50 feet of conduit from the bottom of the tree up, whereas mine doesn't have any
The
conduit.
young ones and stuff. And then Mama is always under the shed or somewhere over here.
Is that flat all the way around?
Yep, it's not twisted up, you're
Not
flat.
twisted?
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff is definitely works a little different. It works.
You already
This is
have
flip
the-
line. This is meant for a transmission pole.
Oh, okay.
Definitely doesn't work as well.
And Tyler wanted me to make sure that everybody knew that. He's like, I'm not going to go up the tree as fast as he did, because he watched my Starlink install video and he saw how quickly Geronimo went up the tree and the way that he did it. And he used that as inspiration before coming over to do John's install. In my eyes, both Geronimo and Tyler are just like beasts. They are awesome. There's no way that I could criticize either one of them, because you'll see what they're about to do. They are crazy. Crazy. I would never do this.
And it has begun. Doo-doo-doo. We got Diego feeding it over there. We got Tyler doing the man work up there. Man or monkey? And I'm holding on to the conduit, and watch what he's got us rigged up here doing now. This is so neat. So these conduit sections are 10 foot. There's no way we could put them all together and then prop them up. So we're doing a building block method. As he's going up, you can see he's securing the conduit with the fasteners. And then when he's ready for the next one, we kind of teamwork it up. I'm glad you're down here. We need an extra hand.
Yeah, it's working out.
We are hoisting the 5th section of conduit going up the tree. So that's 50 feet of conduit. And that's going to be our last one. I'm busy doing a video here, dude.
John with the snarky comments. While we're down on the ground, Tyler's up there doing the man work, as John said, and we're just down there messing with him, BSing, gossiping.
Those fasteners are working good, aren't they?
Yeah, those are nice.
How did you determine how tall this tree is?
A Swarovski rangefinder.
Rangefinder. Okay. So you said 168 feet?
168 is what
Okay.
I ranged to the top of the tree.
So Tyler has already trimmed branches and he topped the tree a different trip that he was here. So Now all he has to do is just climb to the top and do the install.
Are you chipping away for a flat area, or are you taking limbs off?
Chipping a flat spot.
My God, that's up there.
As you heard John say, his tree is 168 feet. Mine is only 100 feet, so his is quite a bit taller. Once Tyler got to the top, the next step was to feed the line up to him, and that's Ashley, his girlfriend, pulling it up to him, and then we put the Starlink antenna into some sort of like a blanket. I don't remember exactly how that worked, but it's like a blanket thing. And then Ashley just used that pulley and string system to pull it up to him, nice and slow, trying to avoid the tree, and then Tyler just pulled some craziness. Oh my, just like watching this footage makes me nauseous. And the way that this new mount that they have works is he had to chisel a flat spot. So he had to take a hammer and chisel up there and do that. Then the next step was to go inside with John.
This is the moment. Oh, okay. So walk me through this.
Connect to Wi-Fi. Oh, you don't have power. You gotta turn on the generator.
Yeah, the light is on.
Okay.
Populating. Look at that.
Starlink. Oh, there we go. Booting. Starlink is
That
powering
sounds very good. Look at that. Very good, very good. I'm excited.
Yeah, you might want to yell up to him and make sure, like, hey.
No jiggling.
Yeah. Just make sure it's not moving. Make sure it's locked into place.
We want to make sure that it's locked in to place and it's not jiggling. Okay, no jiggling. Okay. Stand by. If you couldn't tell already, neighbor John is one of the most positive people I have ever met. He's such a nice guy. He's always happy. And he was so happy. We were so happy leading up to this moment. And then we waited and waited and waited. And to make a long story short, the Starlink didn't work. It would not connect to the internet. We stood there for maybe 30 minutes, just going through different scenarios, trying to think of why it would not be working. He was like, maybe it's this. And I was like, maybe it's that. And I was trying to encourage him. And then we both reached the point where we're like, what are we going to do? So we threw a Hail Mary. Okay, we're pulling a Hail Mary because none of this is working. So what we're going to try and do is, instead of use the 250-foot cable, we are going to try a 200-foot cable and just send it directly up the tree to Tyler. He's going to plug it into the antenna up there, carry the jackery outside, and we're going to directly plug it into the modem and just be right underneath the tree and see if that works. So we're going to bypass all that 250-foot wire, all the conduit in the ground. We're just going to eliminate that and just go direct connection. All right, now we got it rigged up in the most simple way possible here, and now we wait. Calculating orientation. It's downloading something. It says, oh, it's actually downloading something. There's a software update. 8, yeah. I think we got it, John. You're kidding me. Yeah, it's the cable. Oh my God, we're online! Oh, just as my phone's about ready to die. Look at that! Hail Mary! Scores! Thank you, bud. Oh yeah. Thank you for your help. Look at that! Look at that! It's working. Oh, yep. I'm watching my YouTube video. Oh my God! So 250 did not work for us. That's correct. We don't know if it's a bad cable or if we exceeded what the Starlink standard could do. I happen to have a 200 with me, so we threw a Hail Mary, ran out here, put the 200 on, and it worked first time. And we still got Tyler up the tree. So Tyler made his way back down the tree, and I couldn't be there for that. I had to go back to the cabin to finish something, but this is some footage of what it looks like now. The conduit runs a little bit differently at the bottom of the tree, but he did a great job of making it look nice and clean all the way up to the top. They somehow fished that new 200-foot wire, and it was just long enough, like perfect, to go through all that conduit in the ground, up through the floor of the cabin, and then into his windowsill, I think. I'm about to go to John's in half an hour to run a speed test. And so then I will be able to compare his speed that he's getting at his cabin
with my speed that I'm getting at my cabin. And then I'm going to take a walk down to my neighbors Lee and Kim. Some of you may know them. I helped them with a plumbing project a few months back. They also have Starlink at their cabin. They have conduit going all the way up to the top of their tree, and it looks like the person they hired did a maneuver where they topped the tree and then they trimmed the limbs on one side, and you can see how it's mounted there. So I took my cell phone down there, connected to Lee and Kim's Wi-Fi network, and then I ran the same speed test. I just Googled internet speed test, ran it. This is the results that I got at Lee and Kim's compared to the results that I got at my cabin compared to the results that I got at John's cabin. Those speed tests show that the three of us are having very similar results. Not too surprising. We're all using Starlink installed in generally the same way, mounted at the top of a tree in the same area of the forest. One big difference between mine and Lee's setup compared to John's is that Lee and I received ours 2 years ago at a time when you had to be on a wait list and then have your equipment sent to you. But now John just went to a big box store and purchased his. You can go to Home Depot, several other places. So that's the difference. Technology has progressed over the past 2 years. So John's is a little bit sleeker. It looks a little bit different, but as you can see, it performs pretty much the same. And if you can believe it, there are even more Starlinks in the area. So I continued strolling through the neighbor woods, so to speak, and here's what I found. So there's Lee and Kim's cabin, and there's the Starlink in the top of their tree right there. If I zoom out, pan over, this is the other one that I just got footage of, and it's not that far away. Here's another one right here that's got conduit going all the way up the tree. That's the same mount that John's got. Hey, look at that. I found a fellow no conduit person. Good for them. No conduit all the way up the tree. So here's a closer look at somebody's who used that flexible conduit. So there's the fasteners right there, and then starts going up the tree. There's another fastener right there, and then they just started to wind their way, and then it just starts to go all the way up. I can't see the antenna up there, but I'm sure it's up there somewhere. At the beginning of the video, I said that the Starlink falls short sometimes on what I need it to do. So let's get into the weeds a little bit about that. So this is a screen recording I took of the Starlink app, and I just let it stay open. I left my phone on the table, and this only happens with my Starlink. If I did this same thing with John or Lee's, this screen would just continue to say online, and that's what it would say when you're plugged in, it's powered on. After it gets connected, it just stays online. But with mine, it goes from online to obstructed to searching, and then it searches for a little while, and then it comes back online, and then it'll cycle through that again. Obstructed, offline, online. Just keeps doing that over and over again. If you look at this screen here, the outages, and scroll through, you can see how frequently it says obstructed searching, obstructed searching. It just goes through that same cycle. As I said before, I can stream video, send and receive emails. It works, but it's like it goes in and out so fast that the video still doesn't buffer. It's like lost connection and then regain connection, but it stays connected long enough so that the video loads and there's no buffering going on. At this point, you all know as much information as I do. I described everything. You know how tall my tree is compared to his. You know the difference in the mounts that we used. Originally, I thought it was because my tree was too small and it was moving. But when I stand and stare at it, it's very stable, but it could be like microscopic movements that I can't see with my naked eye. I think I should have picked a different tree. There's a much bigger one right here, probably the same size as the one that John used, 170 feet maybe. And it's right next to the cabin right here. And it's taller than the one that my Starlink is currently in. So I think while the antenna is much higher off the ground than it would be being on my roof or something like that, there's still taller trees around it. So it's still being obstructed. At the time that I originally received all my equipment and did the install, I remember searching for videos and resources for information on how to do this, and I could find nothing. I couldn't find pictures, videos of anybody being in the situation that I was in, surrounded by tall trees, not being able to get the Starlink to work. And so I just did what I did. I tried just figuring it out. Looking at everybody else now, it's like, why did Diego do it that way? Because that's what I had to do to make it work. And it's worked for the past few years, less than optimally, but so that's that. Here's my dream scenario. If we lived in a world where everything was perfect and easy, this is what I would do. I would call up my friend Geronimo and I would say, hey man, would you like to reinstall the Starlink at my cabin? He would say, heck yeah, man, you're going to pay me like a lot of money to make it very worth my time. And I would say, yes, money is no factor for me. He would come out here, climb up that tree right there, uninstall my current Starlink. Oh, and I would order a new one. So money's no factor. So I would just buy a brand new antenna like the one John's got with the new mount that John used. And I would have Geronimo climb up this bigger tree, and doesn't matter how long it takes him. Time is no factor for him. This is a perfect world. And so he climbs up that tree, chisels off a flat spot, puts up the new mount. We run conduit all the way up the tree, not because of squirrels, which I was originally kind of scared about. I thought squirrels might chew and damage the cord, but after 2 years, that hasn't been a problem. But the nails going directly into the tree bark, that pinched. So I think what the conduit does, the fasteners might squeeze the conduit, but the tree would have to grow a lot before the cord would get damaged. So that's why I would like to use conduit. So Geronimo does the new install, comes down, and everything works great. That's the dream scenario. But as you all know, this is not a perfect world. And eventually it seems like we're on a path where it's going to stop working. So I may have to do that, but I don't know. Now I'm going to do a rapid fire question answering session because I really need to finish this video. It is the morning before I want to post. So I need to finish this, edit it, and have the next 24 hours to upload and do all that stuff. How far away from the router can you be and stay connected? I can be anywhere on my lot around the cabin and it still works. So when I was doing the milling, I was listening to some music, it worked. Connected to the internet. Out front, it works. When I'm working around the garage, I don't have that much space around my cabin. So the router is strong enough to work. And I wanted to show that example of Lee and Kim's neighbor having a Starlink right next to each other, because that's something that you guys might have thought like, hey, what if you shared it with your neighbor? Is it strong enough to share? And it's not strong enough to do that. Like when I'm right over there at Joe and Carol's, it doesn't work. It's too far away. So that's why, yeah, like even if you're super best friends with your neighbor, you still need, if you want to have a strong internet connection at each of your cabins, you got to have your own Starlink. How much power does the Starlink use? I answered this question earlier in the video, but now I want to clarify some more. So it has a built-in heater. So when it's freezing outside and there's snow and it needs to melt the snow to have a clean surface on the antenna, it uses almost 100 watts. But then on a summer day when it doesn't have to do that, it uses about 60 watts. And that's another thing I wanted to clarify. I have that footage of the Starlink in the snow. There has never been a time when it's snowing, when it's pouring down rain like it is now, when it's super hot outside, in any weather situation, it's always worked the way that I described it working. Sometimes I have to wait, like when there's snow on it, you got to wait for it to melt. I don't know how long that takes, but you just got to be patient. When that happens, you just wait, it melts the snow, and then it starts working. Or sometimes it's like rainy like this and it takes a little bit longer to do the initial connection to the satellites, but then it works. There's even been windy days and it still works. The interruptions and outages might be more severe, but it still worked. It's always gotten the job done. How much did the Starlink cost? Easiest way to answer that question is to go to the Starlink website, go all the way back to the beginning, and the first amount of money that I spent to Starlink was a $99 deposit that was to be put on a wait list saying, I want Starlink, this is where I'm located. When it's available, please allow me to give you my money so that I can have Starlink. And it looks like I waited over a year until May of 2022, and that's where I paid $550 for all the equipment. So I own all the equipment, all the stuff that they sent me in that box. And then I paid for my first month of service, which was $110 a month at the time. And then next I paid $40 for that little pole pipe adapter. And then I paid $127 for the extra cord, I believe that was, yeah, because the cord that they send you, or they sent me, was 50 feet long, but I needed 150 foot. So that's $127. And then after that, it was just the monthly charges. So every month until April of 2023, then they raised it to $120 a month. So I started paying that. And then every month since then, that's what it's cost until now. So that's how much Starlink cost me. All right, people, I warned you there was going to be a lot of information in this video. So hopefully it wasn't information overload and it was digestible. One last thing I want to say before I go, that same night that I went over to neighbor John's to do the speed test at his cabin, we took his truck and went out to the nearby woods and we went trail cam hunting. And that's what John does. He's a hunter. And so this is the first time I had the chance to go out with him and retrieve footage from his trail cams. This was so much fun. In this area that we were walking through, there was this freaking bear that was walking in the same path that we were. Look at that thing. And then the camera also got some footage of the bear running a different direction. Watch it go over this log. Doing. This is crazy. And so if you're interested in this type of a thing, you can look forward to John and I doing some collab videos in the future. I'm very excited for that. But if you want to see this type of stuff right now, neighbor John has his own YouTube channel. I will put a link in the description of this video, or you can just search Trail Camera Adventures, Mount St. Helens, Washington. That's his channel. He's got so much amazing wildlife footage: elk, cougar, bear, all kinds of stuff. Thank you to everyone who helped me put this video together. Neighbor John, his wife Beth, Tyler, Ashley, Lee, and Kim, Geronimo and his wife for helping me with my initial install. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. The only way to stop this video is for me to stop talking. I will see you all on the next one. Thank you. Bye.